Hey, what's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, back with another video, and today I thought we would kind of look ahead to this next week with a new ban list going live. You know, obviously was a rather interesting decision by Konami to release a ban list in the middle of a kind of premiere event, and also, you know, in the middle of the UK Nationals, so it was definitely weird, but I mean, overall, I think everybody's happy to have a new list going into effect. The new list does do a few things. It does check some decks. It mildly inconveniences Kashtira, so bringing down their power level is nice, but I definitely think, and obviously most people are going to agree, that Kashtira deserved a little bit more, in the way of hits. Even if that was just limiting birth, I think that would have gone a long way in order to making, not even necessarily Kashtira more fair, but, just limiting their follow-up and ability to kind of play through any interruption, which I definitely think is something that Kashtira needed to have hit. And then overall, from there, Super Heavy Samurai took some pretty big hits, and Pearly did as well, even though it was just one card. Limiting that one card was a really kind of big blow, so, Kashtira is probably still going to be the best deck, but overall, this is going to definitely affect the landscape of the metagame. And, bringing back Denlong is going to have some pretty big consequences, not just in Dinos, but also in, like, Sword Soul, which I'm going to try and do a list on here as well. Now, overall, I just thought I'd kind of like shuffle it up and show off, what this deck is capable of at this point in time. So we do have a pretty decent hand here. We obviously did draw the normal monster, but that's not the worst. That can definitely come up a little bit later. So we do have Overraptor. Overraptor can obviously grab us everybody's favorite card in Miscellaneous. We can go ahead and activate Miscellaneous. Now this obviously is going to protect us from here. This is kind of, a little bit of the tricky part where, we would prefer to have done a few things first before getting to this point, but, we are going to lose if they have, Ash, in particular. So we banish that. Assuming they didn't have Ash, we're able to go into Archosaur. Archosaur will pop Baby, and that will grab us the double evolution pill. Baby will trigger here, grabbing a Baby. We can go Overraptor, targeting Baby to pop Baby to bring back Baby. So we got a new Baby on board, and we can go Baby effect, bringing out a Scrap Raptor. Scrap Raptor, we can go ahead and use its effect, popping a Baby. And because we didn't draw Lost World, we do need something for Scrap plays, so we'll bring out Petite. We can go Overraptor and Scrap Raptor into Scrap Wyvern. Wyvern bringing back the Scrap Raptor to then be destroyed by Scrap Raptor. And then we can go Raptor 1, Wyvern 2, so Wyvern will summon out another copy of Scrap Raptor. I know I didn't draw it. Where is it? There we go. Okay. Let's bring that out, and then searching the Scrap Chimera in my hand. And then Wyvern will pop as a Petite. Petite will trigger here. And we can bring out Giant Rex. From here we can go Scrap Raptor plus Archosaur into Dinglong. Dinglong can grab us the 9 pillars. Now, Dinglong is pretty nice in that, we can kind of just go ahead and make a, 9-star synchro here, locking them out of lights. I do also, see some merit in keeping it because, if they have, like, if they happen to draw a kaiju, they can just, give us that, getting rid of the Chow Fang. So I think overall, and it depends on the hand, I think keeping Dinglong is pretty good because, it means that if they want to get rid of Dinglong, giving us a kaiju, Dinglong is going to float into another Yang Zing, which will still kind of have 9 pillars live. So I do think that perhaps, just leaving this alone if you can is probably the way to go overall. But, it really just kind of depends on if you can afford to do that or not. Scrap Chimera. We'll bring back the Raptor. We can go these 3 into Napaloosa. So honestly, not too bad right now. We have access to 3 monster negates. We have a omni negate. And then we have some additional, interaction here. Plus we do have the double evolution pill, which we can get rid of the Chimera. That's not going to come up anymore. And the Giant Rex. And that will let us get another interruption here in the form of UCT. And then Giant Rex will trigger, allowing us to bring it back. And then from here is a little bit of a preference. We can make a rank 4, depending on if, there's something that we do, need overall. I really aren't going to need probably any more monster negates, but, maybe a normal or special summon negate can go a long way. Or if we just want another omni negate, Savage Dragon is also an option. I think, we'll make the assumption that we do want to have access to that additional omni negate. So go Savage Dragon, attach Wyvern, which does, also give it a pretty relevant attack boost. And then, we have here, so we have Savage Dragon with 2 negates, obviously once per turn. Appaloosa with 3. We have an Imperm here as well, Ash Blossom in hand, and the 9 pillars. And this isn't even honestly like the best hand. There's, some things that you usually can do a little bit more. If you draw like Zeno, you can add on like potentially a rank 6 as well. So honestly, it just kind of depends on the hand overall, but this really is going to make Dinos a lot better. Consistency wise, Dinos have been pretty strong. It's always pretty good when you have essentially like 6 copies of a Searcher, in Oviraptor plus Fossil Dig, and, just giving it something like a Spell Trap Omni Negate is really good. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go over the deck list and what I've just been testing out the last few days. Alright, so here is the list real quick. Haven't really developed what I think a side is yet. Obviously we're, just before a new, format, so as far as like what the hand traps or what the best things to side are is a little up in the air, which obviously will also determine, your hand trap ratio. Droll very much could fall back out of favor again now that Pearly doesn't look like it's going to be nearly as good, so, you could probably honestly switch this out for any other hand trap, maybe Ogre now, so kind of hard to say, but, stick with Droll, at least for the time being, until, get a little bit better chance to see how the format plays out. But we are playing 2 Zeno. Definitely don't need to run 3. We're playing 3 of the Searcher, so 2 is good. You draw it often enough on its own. Plus, you have a pretty reliable way to search it. We are running 2 Vanillas. You really don't have to necessarily run the Frostosaurus, I think, at this point. The Megalo Smasher is nice just because it's a additional summon off of, like, Baby or Petite. Plus, it is something that, you can protect with, like, Lost World currently. So, these normal monsters are going to have some, also, like, additional, like, interaction with things like Lost World. But overall, they're obviously there to either make, like, a rank 6 or, a Synchro 10 play. It does obviously just kind of depend. If you do go its effect and bring out the Megala Smasher, you obviously can't go into Baron, so maybe if you want like a, Worm 10-star Synchro, it's something you could definitely add, but haven't really had a need for anything like that as of yet. We are still running 2 UCT. Definitely don't need to run 3, but 1 would obviously be too little. It's a great card, one of the best boss monsters in the game. Just being able to quickly end games is, a really good, feature to any boss monster. Plus, some form of interruption on your opponent's turn does go a long way. 3 Overraptor, obviously the best normal summon that you can have. Just the ability to kind of get any additional resource that you needed is going to be pretty big. 1 Misk would have been great to have come back to more, but honestly not surprised that it didn't. The 1 Giant Rex, eventually we are going to get a card that does replace this, but for now, the 1 Giant Rex is pretty good. You're still pretty much running your 4 baby lineup. You could maybe argue playing an additional Petite, since we do have so many other ways to destroy monsters, but for now, just the 1. The 2 Archosaur, you gotta run 2 just in case you happen to draw 1. You always want to have 1 line live for Misk. 2 Scrap Raptor. Again, you could also make the argument for running a 3rd here, in case you do happen to draw Scrap Raptor, but, overall, Scrap Raptor is not even necessarily the worst normal summon, so if you do draw it, you can definitely make some plays with it there, so I think running 2 is all that you need currently. Obviously the 1 Chimera to go along with it. And then you've got your 3 Fossil Dig, and this can, again, just kind of get you any missing piece that you need. For the most part, obviously, since it's level 6 or lower. 3 Lost World, just additional protection, non-targeting. Plus, the attack defense change is pretty big. The 2 Double Evolution Pill, same thing, you have to run a 2nd one in case you happen to draw 1. And then the hand traps right now, we've got 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Imperm. Those could obviously change depending on the format. And then just the small little Yang Zing package, we are running the BN, the Chi-Win, and the 9 Pillars. Chi-Win is obviously pretty good in when you activate 9 Pillars, whatever you destroy. If this was in the graveyard, you can basically bring it back, so some pretty good synergy there. You're not really going to be using it too much unless you're kind of going into Chao Feng and things like that, but overall, definitely need to include it. And BN you could maybe cut, but I guess there is probably some application to playing it. The extra deck, we are running 1 of each of the Evolzors. Obviously, I think Solda, you're replacing that as soon as the new one comes out in Dune, but until then, it's not the worst to play. You could definitely, put something else in this slot, but, might as well play it. The 1 Transcendrake, this is not actually too bad, when it doesn't have any material, it actually does, double damage, so, pretty cool. You can definitely end games as well. The 1 Dinlong, the 1 Borreload, the 1 Scarlight, this is something you can use for, time, but, one of the best applications is just being able to clear your opponent's board. Not that Dinos particularly struggle with that, but, something that inflicts damage is pretty decent. 1 Chao Feng, being able to lock your opponent out of light is pretty good. It doesn't hit really any top decks currently, but, still something to kind of be able to end on if you're worried about Nibiru. And then the 1 Baron, you're not making this too often, but there are several hands where, Zeno can kind of go into it, so it is pretty good, especially if you're able to protect your 5th summon and beyond. And then the 1 Link Kuriboh, this is really just here if you kind of aren't able to go down any of the Gang Zing line. You do need a non-Dino engrave, so Link Kuriboh can definitely do that. The 1 G Golem, that's just a pretty good way to get back Scrap Raptor if you need to go into, Dinglong. Plus, it can kind of make a 2 material Appaloosa with it, plus the Scrap Wyvern. The 1 Unicorn, it can definitely, its effect can come up, but it's really just there as a kind of climb into access code. and then finishing it out with Appaloosa and Access Code Talker. So overall, I really like the deck so far. I'm really excited to, kind of get some games that are under this new format. I'm going to definitely take this to a regional as soon as I can. So definitely looking forward to that. So let me know down below what y'all think about the ban list. I know, a lot of people really don't like a lot of the changes, but I do think that it definitely, gave a few decks a little bit more life. So I am definitely excited for that, and I think it is going to change up the formula just enough to, keep it interesting for a little while. But until then, I will see y'all next time. Thank you.